Hello, we're rolling. Okay, today is, what is today? Today is July 19th, and here is your reading. So let me get started. The deck that you chose in the flowery bag is called the Smith-Waite Centennial Tarot deck, and so that's laid out here before me. I shuffled them before, and the 9-digit number that you gave me I used in 2 different ways numerologically to pick some cards for you. So I drew a tarot card here, and I usually save this one till the end. I feel that this really it's like a guide for you. It kind of sums up what you were asking about, and I do that last. And interestingly, it was the 78th card. Your number turned into 78 for me. So this was actually the bottom of the deck. So that was interesting. That's the first time that's happened for me. And I also used the number in another way to draw an oracle card, which I like to do to set the tone. So this oracle, I have like 2 decks to mix together actually, and the Gods and Titans deck and the Goddesses and Sirens deck. And I love these because these are by my favorite artist, my favorite oracle card artist, Jimmy Manton, who's Australian. So let me move these off. And let me review your question too. So the question you sent to me was regarding your family's finances. When my mom passes away, what would happen if I just stayed out of it entirely? If I arrange for some third party to handle her finances, or if you are directly involved and take charge. So let's go ahead and take a look. So to set the tone for the reading, let's see what card you got here. You got focus. So the theme for the reading is focus. Kind of apropos, actually. So we'll put this aside here and we'll see how focus comes up for you during the reading. I think that's visible over here on the film. So okay. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 3 cards for you to make a foundation. One, 2, and 3. So let's just kind of look at the situation here. Okay, lots of reversed stuff. Okay. So the way I look at these, I usually kind of read them left to right, kind of like a sentence, sort of basically the center of it being right now the energy of the current moment, kind of where things are heading and where things are coming from. So basically the beginning of this story is the Knight of Swords, and it was reversed. I usually read reversals as blocked energy. So blocked energy to me means something's going to be complicated and tough, something will be delayed, and basically things that are complicated are delayed. Things that are complicated take longer, so those are kind of 2 sides of the same coin. I rarely read cards as the opposite meaning. So the Knight of Swords, swords are the suit of the mind, of logic, of reason, of rational thought. So it's really about trying to figure things out. And to me, the fact that it was reversed to me means that this has been taking a long time. That, it's been a tough slog. That's another phrase I always use for reversals. It's a tough slog. So really trying to figure things out. Now, the fact that it's the Knight of Swords, knights in general when we think of knights in the Middle Ages, you think of people who go on quests. So the energy of the suit being reason, the mind, logic, and going on a quest. This is really about trying to figure out a problem using reason, logic, and rational thought. If you look at the eye of the horse in this card, this is one of my favorite features of the card. The eye of the horse, like the pupil is pointing back at the knight, and the horse is looking back at him as if like, are you sure about this? are you sure that you want to head off headstrong? And the way the horse is leaping here, this is actually the fastest moving horse of the knights too. So this energy here is swift, and the energy of the knight is really, it's an adolescent energy. So like there can be a hot-headedness here, but because it's about thought and a problem that you're thinking about, and the fact that it was reversed, what I think this is saying is like, okay, you've been putting a lot of thought into it. You're like opposite to the image of the card where there's a lot of haste. This is a situation where you're looking at using reason in a very measured way, calculated way, and taking a lot of care to make a right decision. Now, coming into the present moment, we have the Fool reversed. I think of the Fool. There's a man here who's kind of looks carefree. He's looking upwards to the sky, but he's quickly approaching a cliff that he is about to fall off. This is the 0 of the major arcana. So the 0 kind of being infinite possibilities. It's the only card that is numbered 0 in the deck, like a neither positive or negative number. To me, this is infinite possibilities in terms of being in the womb and you're about to be being born. Like, to me, stepping off the cliff here is really going to be like his next step is going to take him off the cliff, and that's a birth. So there's the birth of an idea here, and that's basically something big is about to come into being. But it is a tough slog, right? Because it was reversed. So this is going to take some time. It's going to be complicated. But some other features of the card, he has a wand in his hand, basically, that with a bag tied to it. Now, the little satchel up here, I often think of as like, if you believe in reincarnation and past lives and karma, this can be the karma that you're bringing with you into this next journey. This can also be just your life experience and your knowledge that you're bringing with you in your next journey. And because it's attached to a wand, wands and tarots are about will, but in this one where it's not specifically about wands, to me this is about manifestation, like using a magic wand to manifest something in your life. So that's the present moment, but of course it's reversed, so that's the tough slog. It's either the tough slog or it's going to take a while. But ultimately, as we get to the third card here, when you're working on this project, the basic definition that a lot of people like to use about this card, this is the 9 of Cups. It's the wish card. This is the card of the wish coming true. I don't necessarily like that definition so much, but it is an absolute success card. It's about finding what's missing. Cups are the suit of emotions. The suit of water is the element associated with cups, whereas air was the associated element over here with the swords. So this being about water, there's a definite emotional component. So like something is not right emotionally right before you actually, and I have another deck here where all the cards are in order. So I often like to compare to the other cards in the deck to kind of make points. So let me find the 8 of Cups, which is the one right preceding this. So in the 8 of Cups, what's just happened is the figure is walking away. There are 8 cups arranged and there's a hole here. So simply on an emotional level, something is missing on an emotional level. So this is basically him deciding to take a journey to really find something that's missing so that he can become whole and satisfied on an emotional level. So here is the satisfaction on an emotional level. He won, he found what he was looking for, and here he is looking very satisfied. Every tarot card has a dark side to it too. So one of the things I notice about this card is that, okay, these cups are arranged on sort of a mantle or a table or something, and there's a cloth that acts as a curtain behind him. So he got what he was looking for, but there's also something we're not seeing. So that's always something to keep in mind with this card. But the way I read this is that you've been deliberating probably for a long time about this issue. The actual action is being manifested right now. The birth of the idea how to solve the problem is coming to fruition right now, but it's going to be difficult. And then ultimately, though, things are going to work out well. There's a successful element to this card. Being satisfied, being emotionally fulfilled out of this work is the ultimate outcome here. Now, let's look at the 3 different variations of how to attack the problem. So I'm going to draw 3 cards for the 3 things that you named. So let me let me look again at your message so I get them in the right order. So the first card I'll draw is if you stay out of it completely. The second card will be a third party. And then the third card would be to be directly involved yourself dealing with it and orchestrating it. So let me pick these cards now. Okay, so the first one, if you stay out of it completely. Staying out of it completely. And then now, let me look at the list again. This is the second one will be having a third party handle it. Okay, there we go. And then the third one is going to be your direct involvement. Direct involvement. Okay, so let's take a look at these three choices. Okay, interesting. So just on the surface, it looks like being directly involved will be the best way to go. Let me walk you through it though. So we have over here, we have the two of pentacles, and this is staying out of it completely. So the pentacles, and both of these, okay, both staying out of it completely and arranging for a third party to do it are both pentacles, which I'll explain in a moment. And then we already talked about cups, the suit of water and emotions. So like the communication we got is there's an emotional component to being directly involved, and there's an earth element for the other two choices. So earth in this kind of a reading, where I would interpret this as basic needs, feeling grounded. It's actually kind of money matters in terms of, well, the other word for pentacles is actually coins. So there is a basic definition of money matters. But when I think of the element earth, this is about being grounded, about being safe and secure. It's about Maslow's needs, like the things that are essential to live in your life. That's kind of the theme of the suit. So when we look now here at the two, which is right side up, it's staying out of it. It looks like there's going to be a lot of ups and downs in terms of the money that's involved, and in terms of decision making, in terms of keeping things in balance. If we look at the card, he's sort of a juggler figure, or like a jester type figure here. He's wearing a funny, ridiculous hat, and he's kind of making the balancing motions with his two hands. And you have these two pentacles that are connected by some sort of strap, an infinite strap. It's a lemniscate, right? The infinity symbol. So in an infinity of options, basically keep rolling around, and he's trying to keep all of those choices and things in balance. So twos are about balance and choices in general, numerically. And if you take a look at the background, you have this sort of a very cartoonish sea behind him. Like the waves are just overly pronounced because the waves are actually larger than the ships floating on them. And if you see how it almost doesn't, like the angle of the ship, the way it's tilted, it's not even real. So, but I would say that there's going to be a lot of churn in the not only there's going to be trouble getting the balance to happen, but there's going to be a lot of churn here as well. And there'll be an emotional cost. Even though this is like a pentacle, the water he's present in the card, so water always represents emotion. So it might be a definite, there's going to be some sort of emotional churn in this choice of staying out of it, knowing that other people are going to be in control of whatever happens. So things might be kind of on an earthly level or on a money level. There might not be as much balance as you might like here. Now, the next one, what was it? This one's the third party choice. So this is the Queen of Pentacles. So having a third party do it, if we look at it right side up, so the Queen of Pentacles also, it's earth energy, it's about stability, it's about being grounded, but it's also about managing money. So the Queen of Pentacles, queens in the face cards are pages, knights, queens, and kings. So of the face cards, the queens are rulers just like the kings. Kings tend to have more authority and masculine yang energy, and then queens tend to have the yin energy. it's more on the passive nurturing side, or more kind of taking a step back. Queens rule by maybe, how would I say it? Observing what's going on and making a calculated decision, taking care of groups and whatnot. So in terms of the third party, I think this might be a recommendation for the type of person who needs to manage it if you go through a third party. Someone who isn't going to wield authority, isn't going to be exerting their will, and exerting a lot of force in the situation. It will be someone who has a nurturing side. It will be someone who can really take some time to absorb all of the details as a part of the decision-making process. Someone who sits back, observes, and figures out the pieces of the puzzle in order to come to a solution, but they still have, they have mastery over their realm. So queens and kings, basically, the role has a lot of mastery, and that's what you would look for in a third party to manage your finances. Now, that would be the kind of person you would need, and hopefully the kind of person that you would find. However, I mean, the card was also reversed, right? So this is indicating that this person will probably have a very tough time of the situation, of crafting the favorable outcome in the situation. Now, the last one is definitely the most favorable. So the aces in the tarot, they're the 1 through 10, the minor arcana. The aces usually signify a spark, the beginning of a journey. The beginning, in this case for water and cups, this would be the beginning of an emotional journey. And there's something divinely offered. So you'll notice there's a hand coming out of a cloud. So there's a divine offering. Many people think that this offering is fleeting, right? That it's there's an opportunity here, and you don't have too long before you say yes. And if you miss the boat, you have to wait for the next one to come. There will be another one, but it might be a while. So one of the easiest ways to interpret this image is that your cup runneth over. In this situation, your cup runneth over. You have a cup that's basically overflowing into, I would call it a pond. It could be an ocean, but there's lily pads in it. I think of it as a pond. And so there's definitely an emotional component, an emotional fulfillment in being able, in taking this path where you are the one who's directly involved. And there's an opportunity here. I don't know what the nature of the opportunity is, because you're talking about handling, what's the theme? It's handling finances when your mother passes away. So the emotional level could be, relating to the death of your mom in a way that can carry her legacy, and really trying to carry her wishes forward in hopefully an objective way, right? Logic, in a logical and rational way. And doing that might bring you the emotional fulfillment, knowing that you honored your mother. It could also, there's not really a big money element of this card, so I wouldn't think of the cup runneth over in the sense that you would end up with the best deal when it comes to dividing up an estate at the end. I think the opportunity here is really to get something non-tangible out of doing this yourself. So there's some sort of gift that would be offered to you on an emotional, on a water level, something deep down, on a soul level, rather than a monetary level here. These were about money. This one's something else. It's about fulfillment. So that's what I see here. I'm going to pause for a moment because I'm going to think if there's any other way I should slice this and dice this for you. I don't think so. I think without being able to interact with you, I'm going to leave it there for the cards, actually. I'm going to recall the theme. The theme was about focus. So and that kind of played out here in like the fact that you're coming up on a journey where it looks like you've been thinking about this for a long time and have been trying to apply reason to the situation for a long time. And let's go ahead and look at the card that you chose, essentially, by choosing that number to see, as a guide for you. This is your guide. That's a really interesting guide. So again, it's the Pentacles. It's the Five of Pentacles, so it's resonating with the energy of being grounded, but also dealing with money. So the guide here is, well, it's reversed, so I'm going to turn it right side up. So the image is actually, it's technically of lepers, okay? Because the guy's wearing a bell around his neck, and that signifies the fact that lepers used to be forced to wear a bell so that you could hear them coming, so that you know that you could avoid them for fear of contagiousness, right? Excuse me. So the pentacles are arranged as the top half of the tree of life, and they're sort of embedded in stained glass. So the two figures are outside of a church, and there's really two ways to look at this card. The two figures, like if you see them as, you can, it's deliberately ambiguous. Are they approaching the church right now, or are they actually departing from the church right now? So you could look at this card as being on a financial level, like on a day-to-day, like Maslow's needs level. Are you hitting rock bottom and then seeking help from the church? And there's always, like, you know, a church's door is always open, and there's always a way to get help when you've hit rock bottom. Or have they just been refused, right? So there's a dark, like, again, like tarot, every card has a dark side and a light side. So if you want to look at this in the more positive light, this would be reminding you that when you hit rock bottom, there are places you can go, and there are people that you can rely on to give you help. But the vulnerability, like, you know, they could have already been here for help, and they could have been rejected. So we don't know. But if you want to wax positive about this card, this is remembering that there's always people that you can go to and ask for help. Now, you may not get it, but this is reminding you that maybe you want to consider being vulnerable. If you don't try, you can't get that help on a level of being grounded. The card was also reversed. So what this is telling me is that it will be a tough slog. It could take a long time. And I think what this is basically, you know, to tie into dealing with this, it's reminding that you can always ask for help. So actually, part of this guide here could actually be saying that maybe we're not asking the right question here either. So the three paths that we have are about you completely recusing yourself, about farming it out to a third party to deal with it, like hiring someone, or maybe if there's an executor specified in the will, to just allow whoever's specified to do it to carry it out without your help. And then here's you doing it single-handedly. So one of the guidance of this card could actually be that we might not have looked at the right paths here, because you can hire someone and deal with it too, right? You can be both. You can get expertise, and you can be a part of this. Because it's about the death of your mother, I think the hitting rock bottom part of this card, like when your mom dies, I think like most people, if you have a good relationship and you're close to this person, right? When someone dies, that is on some level hitting a rock bottom. And when you hit rock bottom, you ask for help. You know, the image of the card. So this actually could be saying to you, like, okay, you're going to be hitting rock bottom. There would be a definite a sense of emotional fulfillment in being able to carry out your mother's wishes in the way that you use reason and rational thought to give birth to a plan, so that, you know, you can be emotionally satisfied here. I think there's a definite emotional satisfaction, like the outcomes for this, and the general outcome here is emotional satisfaction. But what this is telling me too is that you might need to ask for some help as well. So now that we have the guide, let's look at the combo. Let's look at what's the relationship of you and a third party. So in a relationship reading, like if you had like a partner or something, like I would draw a card for you, draw a card for your partner, and I would draw a card for what's the energy of the two of you together. So now that I've seen this guide, let me pull another card and see, well, what's the energy of you working with a third party together as a relationship, sort of like a relationship reading. So let me find that card here. Okay, this one. So, okay. Well, this is the victory card. So this is the first true wand you've gotten. Well, this was kind of like a partial wand, the magic wand here of the Fool. So sixes, well, the six, like it's sort of the, if you look at the minor arcana, is like the 1 through 3 is sort of a mini journey, a 4 through 6 is an intermediate journey, and then the 7 through 9 is a sort of a more significant journey. This is the conclusion of an intermediate type journey, and the wands at their fundamental level, well, it's the element of fire. But the fire is really your will and your passion. So your inner will, your inner drive. The way, for instance, in contrast to the pentacles, like if you were looking at pentacles about for a job reading, this would be the job as it makes you secure, allows you to pay your rent, and gives you money and the things that you need. Fire, on the other hand, if this, as wands often relate to jobs, this would be doing something because you love it, because the passion inside of you is burning. So this is really a victory in terms of will, in terms of the will inside you, your passion. But I think who's passionate about funerals, right? So I think in this case it's about your will coming out on top and being victorious in terms of will. There is a there's laurels. He's wearing a laurel wreath around his head. He's carrying a wreath on this wand. He's on a horse that's been decorated, so like clearly this is planned. And then he's surrounded by a whole bunch of people celebrating him, right? But he's definitely the person being higher than everybody else. He's definitely the person being celebrated here. So I feel like here this was about honoring, I think, the emotional satisfaction aspect of taking care of your mother's finances once she's passed. There's an emotional reward, but I think in coordinating with a third party, I think what we're seeing here is that your will, so the aspect of what you want to have happen in collaborating with these folks, you're getting what you want too. So I think this is the element of will here. Now, it's going to be hard. So, I mean, I can't predict the future. I just know in general that when there's conflict between family members, we all know it's kind of stereotypical in television dramas and basically just talking to people, that there's often a lot of conflict after someone dies, and you're what's not the word processing, but you're doing whatever with the estate, right? You're figuring out what to do with the estate. So the reversal here, I mean, it's going to be a tough slog. It's going to be hard, hard and maybe take a long time. But the message here is that there's a victory to be had in terms of your will, working in this manner, working together with a third party to make it happen. So maybe this whole, when you're hitting rock bottom and asking for help, you actually come out victorious. You've been thinking about this a long time. We're trying to birth a new idea here. So in figuring out how this would actually play out, maybe the new idea is actually a hybrid approach between these two things. I think that's about all I have to say. So yeah, maybe consider a different way phrasing the question in tarot is always really hard, right? So I think we might have discovered another way to ask the question in this reading. So maybe your homework would be to think about, okay, we have these three options. Maybe there's another way to look at it. Maybe you working very closely with an attorney, with a trusted advisor, with an ally in your family, or I don't know who this third party is here, but whoever it is, maybe in working closely together, you actually get more than just emotional satisfaction in carrying out your mother's wishes. You actually are victorious in terms of your will, and some of what you want to manifest in the situation actually comes to fruition by having a third party back you up, come up with ideas to help you make it fair and workable or pragmatic or whatever. Looks like there's another way to look at it. I think that's all I'm going to say. So thank you for the opportunity of reading for you, and I hope this helps.